This is Bruce Friedman of Adult Site Broker, and welcome to Adult Site Broker Talk, where each week we interview one of the movers and shakers of the adult industry, and we give you a tip on buying and selling websites. This week we'll be speaking with Dan Hogue of Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica. Adult Site Broker is proud to announce the launch of our new website, Adult Site Broker 3.0, at adultsitebroker.com. The look and feel of the new site is nice and up to date and easier to navigate. The new site also has links to our affiliate program, ASB Cash, and our new blog. Speaking of ASB Cash, we've doubled our affiliate payouts. Now when you refer sellers or buyers to us at Adult Site Broker, you're going to receive 20% of our broker commission on any and all sales that result from that referral for life. You can either place a link to us on your site or refer buyers and sellers through an email introduction. ASB Cash is the first affiliate program for an adult website brokerage. Check out asbcash.com for more details and to sign up. Now let's feature our property of the week that's for sale at Adult Site Broker. We're proud to offer for sale a unique network of pay sites. The network includes 6 pay sites of many different stripes: a gay cosplay, bareback, and fetish site, a straight pegging, light fendom, boy-girl, and pantyhose fetish site, a bi-threesome site, a queer hot sex site, a hardcore BDSM and bondage site, and finally a trans female site. There's also a very active affiliate program with Nats as its back end. Through over a decade of independently funding, shooting, and selling niche content, they've funded these 6 pay sites, found eager, ethical, and competent directors to run them, and put content on them, as well as having an affiliate program. Most of the content is exclusive. With an influx of cash and a dedicated team to help grow the brand, there's a lot of opportunity. Only $1.6 million. Now time for this week's interview. My guest today on Adult Site Broker Talk is Dan Hogue, Director of Operations at Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica. He's also co-founder of Razor Edge Talent. Dan, thanks for being back with us today on Adult Site Broker Talk.
Happy to be with you, Bruce.
Dan, it's always a pleasure. Now, Dan started in 1998 in the amateur market with his then wife and had the first swinging couple site on the internet. He morphed this into starting a cam network with other amateurs. And then he rolled that into one of the top cam companies, CamZ. I remember it well, Dan, which specialized in cam shows for amateurs and porn stars to broadcast shows to their member areas. Now, Dan spent 15 years in the cam business and won Best Live Cam Site from XBiz, as well as an Industry Pioneer Award for innovations in live cams. Dan is now Director of Operations at Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica, which I said. He's also heavily involved in channels management for porn stars. After 23 years in the business, Dan is still actively involved in the industry and still loving every minute of it. Hey, let's start there, Dan. You still love every minute of it?
Absolutely. The good and the bad. There's a fair amount of both when you're dealing directly not only with owners, program owners, but talent and trying to coordinate with talent and make it all come together on the production side as well as the business side. So I get a pretty good mix of all of it. And it's a lot of fun, but it's challenging and it keeps me motivated. So.
Yeah, I mean, and it's interesting because you have such a well-rounded amount of experience in the adult industry, starting with an amateur swing site, and then cams, and now you're in the management end. I really don't know anybody who has as much experience in the industry, really.
Well, diversified, yeah.
Right.
Kind of a jack of all trades, master of none, as they say.
Oh, I wouldn't say that.
I've done a lot with on the business end as well as from working directly with performers now. A lot I see from their perspective as well. So it's I have a pretty good working knowledge of what it takes on the back end to run a successful program, as well as how to be successful as a performer and help them be more successful, and how the two intertwine to help both the companies that they work with and for, and how those companies can then help the other performers as well succeed.
Yeah. Yeah. Now talk about your journey in adult and where it's taken you.
Oh, wow. From the beginning, obviously we got into it for fun. We got into it
Yeah.
because of our lifestyle.
Sure.
It was a way, I think I told this story once before where we had gotten tired of kind of hitting on our friends who were not necessarily in the lifestyle. So we went online and we met this girl and her husband, and she happened to be, and we hit it off, and we went back to their hotel room after meeting at a swing club in Kansas City. She came up, she just said, "Hey, would you like to take pictures for our website?" And we're like, "Sure." And it was a great icebreaker, and it was just, yeah. And it gave us something to do, and it was fun. And, next thing you know, we're having a good time. We're, having sex and taking pictures and having and a light bulb went off in my head and said, we got to do this. This is fun. And so we kind of grew from there. And then, the bad end of it is you get outed eventually, and our children being at an age where they wouldn't understand. So obviously we moved away from Kansas, conservative Kansas, to Florida. And we kind of changed paths from being our own, being stars of our own, or being performers of our own, and then into more of helping others be successful, managing their websites, hosting them for free. We started a cam network, traffic, and things like that. So we started getting and transferring more into the service side.
Yeah, then it took you to CamZ, which was quite a success.
It was, and it was a lot of fun. I got to tell you that, especially the early years of CamZ, that was a blast building it. And I always loved the process of building and helping others. And it was, in the beginning, we were, there was a lot of member area traffic from the amateurs themselves, but they were getting siphoned from other cam networks. And we developed one where we gave back to the performers, and they would get the majority of the traffic, as well they should, during their time as doing their shows. And we would sell those shows to other companies who didn't have the luxury of having a live performance. And then we would actually even pay the performers additional revenue in addition to the traffic that they got. So it's a really good model for a long time, until the tubes came out and started, doing what they did to the members areas. In the amateur market, we all know what they did, what happened there. So
you were in cams for a long time. Any itch to get back into it?
I always have. It's always been the passion. It's where it is where my heart actually lies in live cam. But at the same time, I really like it, and I can give the pointers to the talent that I help today with, whether it be advice on their OnlyFans and or their channels, to do live cam. That the interaction is so important, and it really does make a difference.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Everything you've always done has been very performer focused. Why is that?
They're the cog in the wheel. That they're the engine, right?
Yeah.
Everybody says that content is king, right? And well, without performers, you don't have content.
True.
And they're the most fun. Like if you think back to the parties of old, and you've been around long enough to know, it was always the amateurs having fun. It was always the porn stars or the amateurs that were the life of the party and what made this industry great. I mean, it's fun to hang around and network with the business guys and the guys hanging out and stuff like that. But realistically, we go to shows not only to do business, but to have fun. And ever since the performers and the amateurs were pretty much chased out of this business, it's not as fun at shows. It is much more business oriented, but not necessarily always a bad thing when it comes to business in general, but there is a lot less fun at shows.
You can go to shows now, and if you didn't know better, you would swear it's an insurance convention or something like that.
Right? Yeah. Yeah. Or a sausage fest. Yeah.
I was thinking that. I was absolutely thinking that too. It's 100% a sausage fest. 99%, let's say. So maybe you can tell us what's happened since we last spoke.
Oh, quite a bit. I did get divorced. I was married for a little over a year to a performer, and
right.
So that didn't work out, and I filed for divorce. Just been super, super busy with expanding, as well as the going through some changes over at Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica. We took on Crush Girls as well, which is kind of the OC Modeling's version of Pornstar Platinum. And I have taken over production now for those three, primarily TransErotica and Pornstar Platinum, as well as expanded into more and more into the channels management and fan site, consulting.
Right. Now, tell me more about Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica. What are their strengths?
Well, right now, we're kind of going through a lot of changes, and we're kind of going with the flow where we were relying strictly on solo girl sites. We would build the sites around say, Laura Jensen, Anna Claire Clouds, Leah Falcon, and others. We would rely on them to come for us for updates and come to us for updates and update the sites. It got, with the proliferation of the fan sites and the channels where the girls are making so much money, that they really didn't care about the ancillary revenue anymore of a website. And they don't really need the content, because now that they've been doing fan sites for so long, they've become really good at creating their own content. Back in the day when we were doing trade content, because we are a trade content company, it was very important for them to have that content. So that we became a necessary evil, so to speak, that they come to us for trade content. We build a site that gets a little bit of ancillary revenue from it, from what their site will generate. At the same time, they get quality, professionally shot content that they can use on their channels, on their Pornhub, on their OnlyFans, whatever, their Loyal Fans, whatever fan site or channels that they chose to go on. And so it was a valuable service. We provide them not only professionally shot raw content, but they also get the edited version as well. So we have a cost saving factor, a time saving factor, as well as a quality of content. But now they've become more and more. So we've had to adjust with the times. We are now doing some paid trade. We're doing more paid trade content where we offer some revenue as well as the content, the same way we did back when we were just trade. They get the raw, they get the edited version of the content, as well as a few bucks in their pocket to go along with it. And then sometimes if they want a specific male, and we design the content around too, that we produce content that sells well for them. Because the reality is, if it sells well for them, it's probably going to sell well for us as well. That's a change recently that both TransErotica and Pornstar Platinum have gone through as far as production. So we do offer paid trades now.
So with the types of sites out there like OnlyFans, do you find that there's a shortage of models to work with?
No, proliferation it's incredible, the amount of girls. Now, when it comes to like Pornstar Platinum, for instance, it is named Pornstar Platinum, not Creator Platinum, right? So we're kind of limited on we need porn stars. We need people who are proud to call themselves porn stars, who've earned that, and like creators. There's some wonderful creators who, in my eyes, natural porn stars. They live the lifestyle. They beautiful. They know how to perform and just kill a scene. However, they don't consider them porn stars. They don't consider themselves porn stars. And maybe our fans don't either, but because they're creators, but they're pretty well known. So we just, in that realm, I think it's a little bit of a challenge. When it comes to TransErotica, there are so many new stars, so many beautiful women that are popping up. The expansion of female to male trans too has really been an expanding market now, an evolving one as well. So, TransErotica, there's a lot of fantastic new performers coming on the scene, and we certainly are one to reach out to those who are looking to grow their brand and to increase their exposure and to get the content. So there's certainly no shortage of people to work with on either side. And there, not to be long-winded or anything, but even I was talking with Sandra from OC Modeling, wonderful agency, and she even, because I was mentioning that, hey, we're going to go to this paid trade stuff. How do we work? How does that work with you agents? Oh, we have a list. And I'm like, oh, you have a list. Yeah, we have girls and males that do paid trade. And here's a rate sheet for their paid trades. So we can now go to the agencies for these paid trades.
Great.
Makes it a little easier.
Do you think that the term porn star is overused in the industry?
No, not really.
I mean, do you think some people who aren't necessarily, do you think that too many people who aren't necessarily porn stars use it?
Look, if you're in my opinion, if you're a creator and you have fans, you're a porn star in my eyes.
Okay.
But I don't, I work for the company. I don't own it. I'm at the end of the day, I'm an employee of Pornstar Platinum. And, if their definition of porn star doesn't, it may or may not match what my definition of a porn star is.
This is true.
But in the end, what our fans want is a quality content. So there are times when I find creators as defined by my rules that I was handed, and I would say that no, they're definitely porn stars. They have followers that would shadow many porn stars, and so in my eyes, that's where the metal meets the rubber meets the road, as they say.
Okay. So how do you feel about the push from government and organizations pushing for accountability and content verification, and how the third-party upload sites are responding?
Yeah, I think it's kind of what we've done in this industry throughout my tenure in it, is the mistakes of a few cost tremendous hassle for the many. And I think this is another example, and it's a reaction from those mistakes of a few that has now caused many of us to jump through a bunch of hoops now. Yeah. It is a logical fix, an insurance policy that is, the credit cards feel that it's necessary in order to protect their brands, to make us accountable and to police, since we didn't police ourselves in the beginning, with the companies that made these errors that caused this steamroll effect. We have now, since we didn't police ourselves, which we're really good at, but we did the same thing with credit cards. When people were slamming credit cards and, chasing down 25% chargeback ratios, it wasn't long before the credit card companies came back and said, okay, you now have, if you get over 5% or 2.5% chargebacks, you're going to, we're going to cut you off. And then, oh, that's not good enough. We're going to go to 1.5% or 1%. Yeah. So it's kind of like the same thing is happening now with age verification and, accountability they're trying to make these third-party upload sites more accountable. And because they didn't make it themselves accountable, they would, there was a select few that made some egregious errors that they're now paying for dearly. And unfortunately, the pressure, I think, of some organizations to that are have their brands associated with that get hurt and overreact. It's kind of like
Sure.
where the airlines had that one guy who tried to light his shoe on fire. Now we all have to take our shoes off. There was
Exactly.
one example.
Bad
Right.
actors always mess up. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they mess it up for everybody. There's no two ways about it. Do you think Visa and MasterCard are falling to the pressure from these organizations? And what can be done about it?
Absolutely. I think that's what this is. When MasterCard especially came out with their guidelines
Hmm.
especially for third party uploads, which is really what's causing so many issues, where you either
Hmm.
have to be, and for creators, think about a creator. They now have to verify, oh, hey, do you, like instead of just doing a shoot with somebody, even if they do paperwork, they really cannot, it's not good enough. Because if you're not tagging the other
Sure.
person, you're not able to tag the other person on the specific platform that you are on, it's very difficult for you to use that content on that platform,
Sure.
right? So you have to find people who are on the platform that, or platforms that you are on, and then arrange trade shoots or content shoots with them, and then
Hmm.
still do the paperwork and due diligence and all that, and testing and all that. But Visa and MasterCard are definitely falling to the pressure, and they are the gatekeepers of our business, and
Yep.
they know it. We lose them, we're done as an
Pretty
industry.
much. Yeah.
We can see that through how not successful some of the one site who shall remain nameless, mainly because I've been doing a lot of extra work for them. But they uh, they lost theirs, and their revenue is a fraction, based on Bitcoin or crypto, or
Yeah.
whatever other forms that they're trying to get through that's not credit card related.
Sure.
We know that that it's going to be a fraction of the revenue, and if we lose the ability to take credit cards, we're all done.
Yeah. Pretty much. And until somebody comes up with an alternative that the public will accept, we're stuck with credit cards. That's pretty much it. Mainly for the US. Obviously in Europe and some other places there are other payment forms that are used primarily, but even Europe, credit card usage has gone up. There's no two ways about it. What are some obstacles as we as an industry are facing over the next year or so?
Oh, it's kind of fluid. I think if you would have asked me, I would have said credit cards,
Yeah.
because I think they're under a lot of pressure, both politically and from the extreme right, to attack us, and they're threatening our ability to take charge. I mean, if they were to hire me to do it, I would. That's exactly how I would go about it. I think right now, I think it's economics. I think the economy, they're here we're about to click over to the 15th of July, right? And we're about to get a lot of numbers that are released for about our economy. And some of this stuff had
Yeah.
leaked out early regarding inflationary numbers that we haven't
Hmm.
seen since Jimmy Carter,
Right.
and the early days of Ronald Reagan, when he first
Hmm.
started his tenure. And we haven't seen economic uh, you know inflation in the not over 9% since since those 91 time
Hmm.
frames. And so it's a little scary times here in the US, and people don't know it. Like there was a quote from JP Morgan Chase CEO. He said there's a hurricane, an economic hurricane off the coast. We just don't know
Mm.
what scale it is yet, so buckle
Yeah.
up. I mean, that was his
Wow.
quote. So that's kind of scary when you think about the economy and the inflationary numbers that I'm seeing, and
Hmm.
that we've all seen at the gas pump, whether it's the gas pump, whether it's the grocery stores, whether it's your rent,
Hmm.
or your now the interest rates are going up, which is
Yep.
they were at zero. So it put the Fed
Yeah.
in a really difficult position because, and but it's a natural thing when you pump in 12. What did we pump in? 20 trillion dollars into the
Hmm.
economy over COVID.
Yeah.
I think it was somewhere around $20 trillion that we printed. And eventually that's going to catch up. And
Of
that's what's
course.
happening. And so that's the
Yep.
biggest scare for me is the economy. And,
Hmm.
because most of our revenue comes from the US and Great Britain and,
Hmm.
some of the great economies of the world. Now we're going to get hit a little harder, I think, than anybody else, in my opinion, because we're less prepared for it.
Yeah, and we usually get hit first and we recover first is how it tends to work when these things happen, because the entire world responds to the U.S. economy. So the rest of the world reacts to what happens in the U.S. And I should give the standard disclaimer: we're recording this in July, as you say, July 15th. And it will run sometime in September. So I noticed the move from NVC talent to now Razor Edge talent. What happened there?
Biggest thing was probably divorce. uh, excuse me. NVC,
Okay.
New Verticals Consulting, was a company that my then wife and I had started. And when we went our separate ways, through roundabout different things that happened between us, I ended up starting Razor Edge Talent with my now
Mm-hmm.
partner, Bambi Bliss. And
Mm-hmm.
it turned out to be a very good move. We have really made, it, and not to toot our own horns or anything, but we've hit our stride, and just it's so much. And if you were to ask me what keeps me going, like changing people's lives, really, it's a reality for me now. I've always
Mm-hmm.
wanted to be in
Sure.
philanthropy, and this is about as close as I'm going to get, because I no longer have a campsite that I'm going to be able to sell for, the $20 million or whatever it is to start a foundation
Right.
and get into philanthropy. So this is about as close as I can get, and just make a difference in people's lives. And and we are, and that
Right.
to me is most rewarding. And so that the primary thing is basically just change of ownership.
Yeah. So along with that, how are you enjoying talent management, and how's the new company doing?
Phenomenal. Like 4x our revenue over the last quarter.
Wow.
Um, yeah, and been it's been a really mixture of good and very very sad and dramatic times, with some performers, losing loved ones. And I actually, unfortunately, had been called by one of my clients to her
Hmm.
house to check on her fiance, and it was I unlocked her car remotely from where she was at, and unfortunately, I had found him passed in his bed.
Oh,
He passed peacefully, and it was such a horrible day, and like it just
yeah, I bet.
there's with some and other ones going through very much trauma of their own, and reliving again some trauma that they've gone through, and just dealing with you, because they're not only my clients. I never look at people who work with me as clients, but the more my friends and family.
Yes.
And I
Right.
take that responsibility, and so does my partner. We take that responsibility very, very seriously. And
Hmm.
people ask me, says, Dan, you really need to take some time for yourself. And I said, well, I would if I worked for myself. But
Hmm.
and if I was responsible only for me and my business or my income, it'd
Hmm.
be great. I can do that. I can go on a vacation. I can take that time off if I need to. But
Sure.
when you're responsible for the livelihoods of families, 20, 30 families, then you don't have that luxury anymore. It's kind of like
Hmm.
when you have kids. I like when my children had my grandbabies. I said, your life is
Hmm.
no longer your own. It belongs to that
Yeah.
little one in your arms now. And to
Yeah.
me, that's kind of like how my clients and my friends are for me. It's like I take the responsibility that they lay at my feet very seriously, and I'm
Yeah.
going to work hard every day, and my team works very hard, and my partner works very hard every day 7 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
to do the best job we can for them and earn them as much as we can. And we're, it's fun and rewarding to see the life-changing revenues that we're
Mm-hmm.
seeing.
Now, you used to be a an entrepreneur and didn't work for anybody. Now you do work for a company. What do you find the difference to be for you?
I, you know,
Besides no vacations.
Right. I never got one of those either with them, by the way. Just saying, and I still don't. But you know what? I work for JC Baumgartner primarily. My
Hmm.
immediate guy, right?
Yeah.
There's there's a there's not a lot of Indians. There's a lot of chiefs in our companies, and he's a great guy, and I'm
Right.
eternally grateful for him. He pulled me, when I
Hmm.
lost everything, and I mean when I say I lost everything, I lost everything.
I remember. I remember.
My family, my business, my cars, my watches, anything that was of value. But obviously, the only thing at that time that I cared about were my kids, and
Sure.
I focused on them. And he it was a very dark place. I'll just say that. And
Hmm.
John Baumgartner, JC, he pulled me out of that by giving me an opportunity to come to work and move to Vegas after my children had
Hmm.
empty nested me. And I'm eternally grateful for that. And he has my
Right.
undying loyalty and gratitude.
Sure.
And the Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica, I hope to always be a part of it.
Good.
And as long as they'll have me, I will do it, and I will
Yeah.
do it to the best of my ability, if for no other reason for that. Um,
Yeah.
and I really like it, and I like the direction that they're heading. They're
Hmm.
moving away from the solo girl sites and moving more to a network site where we're doing
Right.
paid trade as opposed to
Hmm.
just trade. We're not
Right.
relying on the girls for updating a website. We're going also to full paid. We're doing some cam stuff again, which is exciting for me. We
Yeah, I
are,
bet.
yeah, we're doing a black label. Um, um, I guess without giving away too much, it's very similar to a very large company that's out there, but we're going to do it on a smaller scale, of course. But
Mm.
it's modeled after something else. But I guess.
Hmm.
But it is going to be exciting and fun for me once it gets up and running.
When will
Uh,
that be?
we probably maybe by the time this airs,
Okay.
I really hope. It's a process. Right now, I'm still trying to make the adjustments on taking over production because that has been thrown on my
Hmm.
lap, and that's not something that I normally had done. So fortunately they gave me an assistant to work with and to dump some things off of that I would normally do, and to
Hmm.
enable me some additional time to do content. But it's kind of tough because I'm so personable, and our household and Bambi and I, the way we run both business, our business and our relationship with Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica, is
Hmm.
that we have talent staying at our house all the time.
Hmm.
Whether because when we invite people to shoot with us, we invite them to stay with us a lot of times too,
Yeah.
because it's a nice safe place. They don't have to spend money on hotels when they travel and things like that.
Right.
So it's one of those things where it's great, and on the other side you never really have any time for yourself. But
Sure.
so that adjustment's been great for me and keeps me going. But and that's probably the biggest change for Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica that's coming down the
Hmm.
pike is our focus more on the quality of content, the and returning the quality of our name back to it. We went through a
Sure.
rough patch where we had some issues with content being delivered in a timely manner. We no longer have those issues,
Okay.
and we've increased and improved the quality of the content, the shoot houses that are
Hmm.
available to us, and just the overall way we treat people. And we're changing the culture of the company, one performer at a time,
Good.
as I say.
Awesome. Now, how are you feeling about the overall future of networks like Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting couple of years, I think, as the economy. I think that's where it's going to hurt the worst, right? In my opinion, we're going to see much like we did in the 2008 to 2012 range. I think we're going to see a drastic reduction in the amount of programs that are smaller programs that survive. I do think Pornstar Platinum and TransErotica is ripe for survival. They're not going anywhere. Our cost of production versus the revenues, I think, are really good, and our ratios, our conversion ratios, are phenomenal. It's just a matter of getting enough the traffic, obviously, but as the economy is going to test everything. So and as the credit cards start to get maxed out and our rebills start to decline, and those types of things, or people are reluctant to break out their credit cards or have less expenditures. But there's, what we did learn from 2008 to 2012 is that women will never give up their hair and getting their hairs and nail done, right? And men will never give up their porn.
This is true.
Those are the two things that are pretty much economy proof. And thank God we're in the business we are. And I'm not in the hair business. So, but I do have a friend who is, and I almost wish I was, because that guy's a billionaire now. And, and we met in this industry, but, in 2000, I think it was like 2010, he got into the hair organic hair systems and stuff. So,
wow.
Yeah. Mazel to him, because,
hey, baby, whatever works, right?
But I think, I think that's the biggest challenge for us. And I think the future, is going to be a challenge for the next few years as we fight through the economic issues.
I agree. Now, what's next for Dan Hogue?
Continue to be diversified. I really looking forward to this project with the cam once we get it going, as a personal level. But the continue to strive, go through the growing pains that we're already going through. We planned ahead for, I've been in the business a while and been self-employed my entire life. And I learned a lot of valuable lessons when I was younger regarding forecasting and planning for growth, so that when you do reach that growing point, you don't tip over. And so we planned ahead for this, and we're in a great shape and we're fairly expandable very quickly. So that's really where I'm at. Is right now we're in growth mode on everything, whether it's Pornstar Platinum, TransErotica, Razor Edge Talent. We're just blowing up and doing everything we can to expand there.
With so many more of them out there now, with all the creators, what advice would you give to performers today?
Stay true to yourself. You have a lot of power, but it's not as easy as you think. With great power comes great responsibility, right? Before, the responsibility was always on the companies. They had to hire you, they had to pay you, they had to fly you out, they had to do all this. Well, now you're doing a lot of that yourself. You're the one that's being the creator. You're the one who's being the producer. You're the one who sometimes is being the editor or the marketer. You have to do all of those things or hire for it. So, and at the same time, you want to try to have a life and a quality of life. So my advice to them is find a balance. That there are people out there that can help them, consult with them, that can do some of the things and take some things off their hands. There's obviously a lot of things that they have to do personally, but it's a lot of work. It's not easy. It wasn't easy for companies to blow up and make a lot of money, and it's not necessarily easy for a performer to do it, even with help. Sometimes it's still work, and if they're expecting to not work, they're not going to be successful. So I would go into that with the mindset of, hey, keep your work ethic in check and really, really buckle down and learn. If not learn, then find the people around you that are successful in what they do, that where you need them, and apply that. But be true to yourself and trust your instincts.
Okay. Now, what do you think about AVN and XBiz and really all the shows finally returning to live formats?
Hey, not only that, did you see the dates for AVN? The dates,
I haven't noticed. No.
they went back to corresponding with CES.
Oh, okay.
I literally just noticed that today because they sent out an email.
Oh, it's later?
It's at the same time.
No, but I mean, it's later than it was last year.
It's earlier.
Than the XBiz was last year.
XBiz
okay.
I'm talking about AVN.
Okay.
I love the fact that XBiz is doing the X3. I love that organization. Absolutely amazing.
Doing some nice work on their shows, for
and they
sure.
always have. The A plus people, phenomenal, and I'm glad to see them they were the first last year and ran their successful show. Unfortunately, I didn't make it because of family issues, but I absolutely love the fact that we're going back to live shows, and I love the fact that when I first started in AVN, it was AVN and CES. And, even as us amateurs, and, they would have all these business guys come over, and it really kind of made a difference. And I'm hoping that going back to that because they kind of avoided each other for a while, and it really changed the whole dynamic of AVN. Yeah. And I'm kind of hoping that it restores some of that glory of that particular show. And I like the venue. Vegas World or what is it? No, Resorts World is a phenomenal building. I'm very excited about it, and at XBiz as well. And this year, going to Europe. I plan on going to the European shows. Are you
going to be at TES?
I'm gonna do more over the next year in Europe, and
great. I'll see you there.
I still look back to getting back to there, and I still want to hit up Porno Dan in Budapest and stuff, and catch up with him.
He's awesome.
I miss that.
What a great guy. Oh, he's a wild man, but he's an amazing guy. I love following him on Facebook and seeing him with all his girls. Right. He is one of a kind. There's no two ways about it. By the way, one correction. Yeah, X3 is a great show. I think the first creator show was actually Why Not Community, which is an amazing show as well. Yeah. They were the first on that format, and XBiz has followed now, and I heard great things about both events. Well, Dan, hey, I'd like to thank you for being back again on Adult Site Broker Talk, and I hope we'll have a chance to do this again soon.
You bet. Look forward to it. Thanks for having me.
Thanks for being here. My broker tip today is part 9 of what to do to make your site more valuable for when you decide to sell it later. Last week, we talked about what information to provide a potential buyer. Here's more. Tell them what's special or different about your site. How is it unique? Make sure and include a list of all the websites you're selling, in addition to any domains that come along with the sale. Is there anything that adds value to the sale? Provide them with any additional information upon request. Before giving a buyer any information, have them sign a non-disclosure agreement. If you use a broker, the NDA will be provided for you. Good brokers, Adult Site Broker, have a large resource of potential buyers that are looking for properties just like yours. And they know how to deal with buyers. They will also negotiate the terms of the sale, such as price and any payment terms. Before closing the sale, find a good escrow service to make sure that both the buyer and the seller are protected. We have those resources, of course. Let's talk about some of the factors that influence the sales price of a website. Number 1 is always profit. It will be a multiple of the profit, and that multiple is based on whether the profit is trending up or down and how fast it's trending up or down. I've seen valuations of as much as 5 times, although that's very rare. Normally, it's in the 2.5 to 4 times area. I've also seen valuations of 1 time if the profit is taking a nosedive. We'll talk about this subject more next week. And next week, we'll be speaking with Sapphire Master and Lady Petra of Slub USA. And that's it for this week's Adult Site Broker Talk. I'd once again like to thank my guest, Dan Hogue. Talk to you again next week on Adult Site Broker Talk. I'm Bruce Friedman.